It's time for the Uncommon Wealth bonus content.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Uncommon Wealth Podcast bonus edition with Philip Ramsey
and Aaron Kramer.
And we are talking about the one, the only Dr. Megan McCoy.
Yes.
Financial therapist.
This is like one of my most favorite podcasts.
Okay. Tell me what your favorite part was.
Well, just like because I love like the psychology of money and all that. She's kind of like my hero in that I know that this is what she does. Like she helps teach people, and she is a licensed therapist. She's a CFP. She knows the money side. Yeah, at trade. I mean, she's like she said on the podcast, she's a therapist.
Yeah.
But she just understands the whole mindset of money so well. It's so fun to like hear her talk, and like I watch all of her other interviews, you know, because she is so knowledgeable about all of it, and her demeanor about all of it's so good too. So it's interesting to see her take this route, because I would just think that someone like herself that has this really good demeanor would have stayed in the practice. And I think I don't know if she does or not, but like, oh my gosh, to have that good of a person like heading up a department. It also probably shows you why KU's such a leader in this.
Yeah, I mean they've done something right.
Well, I think they're in like the top 5 in the nation.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna unpack the show. Obviously, this is kind of the bonus content. But I do this sometimes with people. Like I give people like things I think about when I think about like them. So I have 3 words for Dr. Megan McCoy. Ready for them?
Yep.
Approachable.
Yeah.
She's just approachable. Like she would talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Because she's passionate. So that's my second word. So approachable, passionate. She's just really passionate. Like there was a couple times in the interview, like she was like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this.
Yeah.
It's attractive to like talk to somebody that way. And then the third thing for her, she's knowledgeable. Yeah. Right. So she is approachable, passionate, and knowledgeable. Knowledgeable because like, I mean, she was like, here's a study, there's a study. This is the book I co-wrote. This is the book I wrote. Like, so I was eating that up. But I think those are the 3 words that when I think of, Megan, I think of those 3 words because they are. And all those things that make somebody uncommon in my perspective. Yeah. So she's uncommon. Obviously, that's why we had her on the show. But man, really good content, and she's passionate about it because I think that it's making a difference. Yeah. And she wouldn't be all that passionate if she knew that it wasn't making any difference, but she's starting to see CFPs come around. She's starting to see FPA board kind of like engaging in this because they're starting to see how important this stuff is. And obviously K-State, she's a professor there. We never really talked about that, but, I'm sure people could deduce that, but they are the tip of the iceberg here of things that are happening in a positive way to understand that there's psychology about money that needs to be talked about, needs to be part of the planning experience, and something that we've always kind of gelled together with, as we talked about at the first part of the show. But really cool just to see all the different things and all her different like ways that she's helped contribute to such an amazing, topic, I would say. So I was really grateful to have her on the show. I love the way that you kind of kept bringing it back to like, let's talk about the studies that she's done. I thought you did a great job with that. So, and then just to see her enthusiasm and passion about those things was like, I mean, this could be a 3-hour podcast pretty quick.
So easily. Like, I mean, especially if she was in person, like, oh my gosh, pull up the couch because I could talk about this all day. So many different questions.
And she could too.
Yeah.
Right?
I know. That's the fun part about all of it. And to me, it's like when having her on, I know it's giddy to get her here because for me, I know she wouldn't think this, but to me, in our world, she is kind of what we'd call somewhat of a celebrity. Mm-hmm. She is making a difference. She's working at a prestigious university, doing prestigious studies and helping people.
Right.
And people, she's well known. She's known in the FPA. At the FTA or the Financial Therapy Association, FTA.
Yeah.
Right. So,
okay, this is something I wish I would have talked more about. I love going back to these things of like, what could you have done better? Which I could always do a lot of things better. But I love that she was a marriage and couples therapist and wanted to go into money. Yeah. What I thought was interesting is one of the bigger reasons why people get divorced is money. And so I think that she was starting to see that. And then also her own experience with money, she just went straight into it. Like, I want to learn more about it. I don't feel like I'm good at it, but I also feel like she saw this need of like, but it's also important in my marriage and family therapy sessions and couples therapy. And so she just jumped into it. I wish I would have unpacked that a little bit more.
Yeah.
We didn't. I'm kind of assuming a lot, but I kind of think I knew where she was going. I wish I would have just had her unpack that a little bit more. That's on me, but
she's a go-getter.
She's a go-getter. But I loved the fact that she started with a marriage and couples therapy and then kind of evolved into where she's at now.
Yeah. I loved it, like her story when I asked her about, what she saw about like financial planners coming into her program, how she explained that a lot of the people coming in, they're doing that at advanced studies for like estate planning and things like that.
Yep.
Really looked at to want to take these like therapy courses, but at the end they're so bummed about it.
Right. Dragging into the class.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, here's something else that I thought was fascinating. The anxiety of the unknown versus the actuality. I see that a lot in our practice.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, I can't do this. There's no way I can do this. And then like you really start kind of putting structure around, okay, what's the worst case scenario for you? And then start saying like, oh, well, if that happens, I totally get through it.
Yeah.
But like what our mind does when we don't know, we go to the like, not even the worst case scenario, like this arbitrary like thing that would never happen.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I don't even know. Like, it's very interesting when you have anxiety about something, but you don't like articulate it, what your mind does. And like, you just can't break through. And so for the uncommon path and for our clients, I feel like, okay, well, let's put some structure around this. What's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah.
And we can talk about that. And then what are things that would lead up to that? And them realizing like, well, that wouldn't happen overnight. Like this would happen over a long period of time where we'll be able to get our bearings straight. We'll be able to kind of look through the different things, pull different levers.
Yeah.
But having them articulate that is helpful because then we can just, at least we've talked about the worst case. Do we feel like the positive side of things would outweigh the negative? Many times it does.
Yeah.
But the anxiety of the unknown is like unsurmountable.
Yeah.
And I do feel like there's something that has changed with people after COVID of that. It's the anxiety of the unknown. Is there going to be a recession? Oh, I don't think the dollar's going to go away. All these different things of like, oh gosh, like, well, let's talk through that. Like these big companies are going to try to find a way to make it work.
Yes.
They're not just going to go away, you know, and like they have way more resources than we do. So if we're invested in those things, like, okay, let's talk through that. But the fact of like throw these things out, well, what do you do with that? Like, I don't know. Like it does sound daunting.
Yeah.
But let's start using our reason to try to reason out that.
Yep. And talk to people through, because it is like, I mean, sometimes you're just like, oh, why are we talking about this? Well, just turn on the news.
Yeah. Right.
That's why we're talking about it.
Right.
Like,
right.
They're like trying to family self-fear. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, it totally is. Sorry. But I feel like it was just interesting that she kind of saw that as the anxiety of money was real in the studies that she saw. And then the Canadian to the US, like
that's fascinating.
It is. I know, man. There's a lot of questions I have.
I know. That's why that could have lasted so like, it was like part 2, part 3.
3 hours later.
Yeah. So
but it's really good stuff. I think it's all very good. And like, so here's my question to you. What's your application from our, you didn't know I was going to ask this. So
I know. I was like,
what's your application from our interview with Dr. McCoy? What do you take away from that and like implement?
Yeah. So I don't know. To me, I'm like, it makes me think about what we're doing here at Uncommon.
In a good way or bad way?
No, I think in a good way. It's a good way what we're doing, but I think that some things that we're naturally just doing because it fits our personalities.
Yeah, right.
But like how we need to like lean into that a bit more and be a bit more intentional about it.
Okay, good.
But
how would we do that in your opinion? And maybe you don't know. Like this is pretty on the spot, buddy. Sorry.
Yeah, no, see, that's the part. Like for young people, I know we do that. I do that for the young people. Yep. We do some of this stuff. But how do we do it for some of our older clients?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Okay. So one thing that I took away is data points. Like we have access to that. We don't really utilize, I bet you we utilize maybe 7% of what we have access to. So do a little bit more research on what we can maybe utilize data points in our practice. We've started and it's been a great start.
Yes.
But maybe how other ways that we can maybe implement some of that stuff.
Yep.
So that's my takeaway. Dr. McCoy, thank you so much for your wisdom and your time. Thank you for being just approachable, for being passionate and being knowledgeable.
Yeah, this is awesome. I am probably going to geek out the rest of the day.
So good. You've been listening to the Uncommon Wealth Podcast. I've been your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I'm Aaron Kramer.
Thanks for listening.